Hey everyone, welcome to the Rugger. There's been a lot going on lately in the rugby world, so I'm going to get right into it by going through the games that happened last weekend. We had Leinster against La Rochelle, which was probably the best game of the weekend and probably the best game of 2026 so far. It was a real ding-dong battle between what is a really good rivalry we're enjoying now with rugby. You can't say Leinster and Munster, that's a really ancient old rivalry, but La Rochelle and Leinster just seems to be the last 5 years or so really interesting competition between them. It was very, very close. It was played in Dublin, played in the Aviva. La Rochelle brought it, and Leinster just seemed to just keep fighting back every time. The league changed hands about 5 times, but it started off, it was really similar to the 2023 Champions Cup final in the fact that Leinster opened this big, massive volley. It wasn't as much as 17 points, but they got 2 tries courtesy of Joshua Kenny in his first Champions Cup game in the first 7 minutes. So it was a real statement that they were 12-0 up with just this one winger. It looked like the exact same try that was scored twice in a row. It was great. Really good opener to the game. Really set the tone. It was manic pace. Just really like international kind of standard game. And eventually, by halftime, it's still, Leinster is still winning, but La Rochelle keep fighting back. And it came to just at the end, it was this crucial clutch penalty kick. And Harry Byrne takes it, but you can see there's a bit of I suppose, a disagreement going, but there's a bit of disappointment going from Sam Prendergast when you can see I think it was the choice of Caelan Doris really, and he said to Harry Byrne, go for it. And you could see Sam kind of passed the ball to him, but it was a bit dismissive, I suppose. It was a bit put upon that he wasn't the one taking the kick, but fair play to Harry Byrne, ice in his veins, clutched it. So it was a real sensational finish. You really thought La Rochelle were going to see it out, and I think everyone's saying it probably was La Rochelle's game to lose. But Leinster just stuck in there, and really it's a good sign that Leinster are winning these important moments, whereas before in the finals they weren't able to scrape over the sides. So it's nearly like a dress rehearsal really, but you can really see that they're growing beautifully into this tournament and this season. Had a lot of losses at the start of the season, but it's just great to see them kind of come back to form, because we need a competitive Leinster to be up against. So yeah, it was 25 points to 24. Joshua Kenny with the 2 tries, then Van der Fleer and Henshaw, they get 2 tries in the second half. That turns the tide a bit. But yeah, just Harry Byrne, what a statement, because he was the one who kind of vouched for himself, saying, I can take this, I can do this. So a real test of character. Fair play to him. I think he's got to be on the Six Nations squad when it's announced next week. So it seems to be shaping up like Harry Byrne's year after that stint in Bristol. He just seems to have brought back a different Harry Byrne with him. So it's great to see. Great to see tens kind of really clamoring, to get ahead of each other. That's what we want. So delighted for him. So yeah, that was Leinster versus La Rochelle. Then we had Toulon against Munster. Munster away, 27 points to 25. Real heartbreaker for Munster fans. It just wasn't their day. Just too many errors. Again, Ty Byrne gets sent off into the sin bin. It's happening too much lately. I get it, because he's a poacher. He has to kind of, when it works, it's beautiful, and he's a turnover machine. And when it doesn't, he's like the butt of everyone's joke, So there's millimeters in it. How do you know, when it's a penalty or when you're poaching? It's just, it depends on the ref, depends on the angle you're looking at. I think it's a real 50-50 crapshoot. So it just seems to be happening a lot lately. He gets sin binned, and then the other team just piles on the points. It's been happening too much, not just for Munster, but for Ireland as well. You can see that's been the trend the last 6 months or so. So unfortunate. They were hanging on. I think Munster were not favourites to win this at all, but they needed to really to get a foothold in their own Champions Cup. It was 7-6 at half time, so it was quite close. Munster, were defying expectations a bit, and it wasn't until the very end of the first half that Toulon scored. But they just pulled away in the second half. Toulon just had them. And Al Alatoa, I just don't know if he's really for Munster. It just doesn't seem to be working out. He seems to be just letting down the scrum a lot. And to be honest, I never really thought much of him even when he was playing for Leinster. So I don't know. I just feel like, could we get someone a bit better than that guy? For someone to be hired out for 6 months, you'd expect him to be doing a little bit better. He just seems to be collapsing the scrum a lot, just letting the side down. I don't think it's working out. But yeah, it's a stinker because now it means Munster have to win tomorrow against Castra. So the pressure is on. They haven't been doing too well uh, lately at all. So really now Castra quite low in the groups. You would think this is at Thomond Park. It's a home game. You'd think Munster have this, but I wouldn't take anything for granted. So we'll have to wait and see. And then we had Montpellier against Connacht. Connacht playing away, lost by 2 points, 33 points to 31 points. Rough one for Connacht. Again, pipped at the post. And again, massive lead that just gets squandered. It was 24-14 at halftime. And then in the second half, they had a 17-point lead. That's big. That's 2 tries and change. So you got to try a little bit hard to lose that lead. And it just kind of fell apart for them. Sam Gilbert, special mention, he did score 16 points for Connacht on his own. So that's a name to look out for. Well done to him. But yeah, just still not going the way. It's petering out for Connacht in that last quarter of the game. And I'm still backing them, hoping that it'll eventually click. But they're running out of time because they need to win tomorrow to really stay in the Challenge Cup. So we'll see. Then you had the Cheetahs against Ulster. I didn't put it up on the whiteboard. It's a funny one. It wasn't a real game, even though the score was 28 points to 0 in favour of Ulster. Nothing happened. The game was cancelled. So if you were an Ulster fan, you would have been, really annoyed, especially if you had, put in the time and investment to go to Amsterdam. They picked Amsterdam to play this game, and the whole thing fell apart because of the sub-zero temperatures. Then they had moved it to a different stadium where they thought they could have gotten away with better circumstances, but that wouldn't have had anyone actually going to it. It would have been just closed doors, which I think is just, shouldn't happen ever unless it's, God forbid, another COVID-19 or something. So when that happened, they cancelled that one too. It was just too cold in the Netherlands for the Cheetahs to host this game properly. So the whole thing fell apart. No game was played. So apparently when that happens, I don't remember the last time I've ever seen this, especially for a Challenge Cup game. If it's cancelled because of extenuating circumstances like the weather, for example, it's an automatic win for the visitor. So they just get 28 points, full points, bonus points allocated to them. So still a good outcome for Ulster, just, anticlimactic if you're looking for an interesting game of rugby. And they're on fire this season. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but still good to get the points on their board. So I think at the moment, they're actually very up high in their group. I think they're only 1 point behind who they're playing tomorrow, which is Stade Francais. So they're looking very healthy for the Challenge Cup. I really hope they're going to go all the way and win it because I just think they've been playing fantastic. Special mention, I didn't put it up either, but the Saracens team beat Toulouse 20 points to 14. So I thought, I have to say, well done to Saracens because I'm a little bit aligned with them considering Owen Farrell is now back with them. Owen Farrell is Andy Farrell's son, so kind of support Owen Farrell when he does play. I think he's a great player. But it's just interesting. This is going terrible for Toulouse. They are kind of struggling to stay in it at this point. They really have to win their next game. I have a feeling they will. I mean, they've got to have their tails up with this pressure on them. Looking at the team led by Antoine Dupont, best rugby player in history, possibly. And Toulouse won the championship just a couple of years ago in a very, very sensational final against Leinster. So they've got 6 wins, 6 stars on that jersey. Toulouse are a powerhouse in rugby. So they just seem to be struggling, like not even close. They're really under pressure now to get out of their group, to get through to the knockouts. So I thought that was worth mentioning that Saracens beat them. So what's going on this weekend? It's really all on Saturday. It's a Super Saturday. All 4 of the provinces are playing, one after the next tomorrow on Saturday, which really lines up if, you're looking to go out in the town and really have a good day of rugby in it. It's going to be there from pretty much, was it noon? 1 p.m. till close, really. So first of all, we've got Ulster against Stade Francais at 1 p.m. That's a home game up in Belfast. That's going to be interesting because, again, there's only 1 point between them on their group board. So a lot of heavy hitters back on that team. Stockdale is back. He was injured. Now he's back. You got Balakoon. It's a good squad. McCluskey, Zach Ward, who everybody's talking about to be in the Six Nations squad this year. Nathan Doak, again, another guy that should be our third scrum half and waiting for Ireland. Angus Bell. Tom Stewart, which I just found out extended his contract with Ulster for another 2 years. He's been having a blinder of a season. Tom O'Toole. Now, I want to see how he gets on because we're very vulnerable at loosehead at the moment for the Irish squad because of injuries. Now, he normally plays tight head, but I believe they've been training him to do loose head on the off. So we'll see if he gets mentioned in the Six Nations squad. Outside chance, but you never know. Ian Henderson, Nick Timoney, Breen Ward, another name that has been mentioned that has potential, that's just been playing really well lately. A bit of a bolter for the Six Nations squad. I hope he gets through. On the bench, you got people like Rob Herring, who also has got his contract extended recently, and Postlethwaite. So it's a good squad. Hopefully it'll be a good start to the day with that game. Then you got Bayonne against Leinster at 3:15 p.m. So Leinster's playing away. Very mean squad. You got Boyle, Kelleher, Furlong for the front row. Snyman is back. He was injured for a while, so he's going to be in the second row at Ryan. That's great news. Deegan, Van der Fleer, Doris in the back row. Harry Byrne is picked to start off, clearly as a result of his form against La Rochelle on the weekend last week. Jameson Gibson Park, we back him up as scrum half. Gary Ringrose is back from injury, which is great news, especially coming up to the Six Nations. We're really missing that guy, both in Leinster and the Irish team. So good to see that he is back and fit. He'll be with Henshaw. And then you got Tommy O'Brien and Joshua Kenny, two of these wingers that are got that X factor about them. You know, Joshua Kenny is newer on the scene, but both of them, I think, should be on the squad for Six Nations because they've just got some speed, you know. And they're really just, especially Tommy O'Brien, he's just really good kind of playmaker he's turned into. Really knows how to screw things up. So they're going to be the wingers. Jimmy O'Brien is at fullback. I thought Hugo Keenan might be back in time for this game, but he's still, I suppose, not recovering, but they're still looking after him. So he should be okay. You know, I think it's a smart idea for Six Nations squad point of view. You want him healthy as a horse for the Six Nations. So if you need to pace him, you know, take your time, Hugo, because we miss him a lot. We need him back. And he's been out for a good while with that surgery, so I'm happy they're not chancing it. On the bench, we got some very reliable heads like Dan Sheehan, Joe McCarthy, Rico Ioane. They're going to be on the bench. So that's the Leinster game. Now, the Munster game, I'm actually going to be at this tomorrow in Thomond Park. This is at 5:30 against Castra. It's a do or die situation. They're going to have to win this game to maintain their presence in the Champions Cup. I think it's going to be a comfortable win, dare I say, just based on last performances. I don't want to say comfortable, but considering Castra haven't won anything, maybe they've won one game, but they haven't been doing too well. They're at the bottom of that table. So it's a must win for Munster. The good news is Casey is back. There were rumours that he was injured, God forbid, for the Six Nations as well, because Clayton McMillan, the coach, said, it's a very serious looking injury. But he has bounced back and he's going to be starting tomorrow with Jack Crowley, which is great. Good to hear that because, as much as I want to get other scrum halves in there in the squad to have a chance, you do need two very influential scrum halves on your Six Nations squad that are established and have the caps. And there's really no one else besides Jameson Gibson Park and Craig Casey. Like, they work very well together as well, one on the bench, one playing first. So good to hear he is doing well. Hope as well, I just hope no injuries happen anymore, because there's been a lot of casualties for injuries for all provinces in the run up to the Six Nations. So this is like the last weekend really, before kind of you have to start really worrying about who's going to be picked. Tyke Burns is going to be the captain. John Klein is going to be playing, and he's also apparently this is his last season with Munster. He's got a contract somewhere else. So that's unfortunate to hear. He's been a great player for Munster the last number of years. On the bench, also good news is Ollie Jaeger, the prop, is back in action. He's been out for a few months. He had an injury and he was trying to get work off. So it's great to hear he's back. I'd like to see him back on the squad too, the national squad. I just think he's got a bit of national squad potential in him. So great to hear that he's back. Dogbo and Gleeson are going to be on the bench as well. They're two guys that I think as well should be considered for the Six Nations. They were picked for the Chicago trip over to New Zealand as kind of training panelists back in November, but unfortunately, when they played Leinster in the autumn, they both got knocks and couldn't go. It was heartbreaking right before that trip over. They just couldn't make it because of injury. So I'm really hoping to make the Six Nations squad in any capacity because they've just got potential written all over them. It's the last chance to impress for a lot of people like that. But because the squad is going to be announced, I'm kind of picking Wednesday as a guess. I don't think there's an official day yet, but it's normally a Wednesday that it's announced once the week has been picked for the announcement. So be very interested to see who gets picked. But there's a lot of bolters there. If there was a few bolters, I'd say 6 bolters to pick from. There'd be 3 from Ulster: Zach Ward, Breen Ward, and Nathan Doak. 2 from Munster, Adogbo and Gleeson, and then Joshua Kenny, because he's never been capped, from Leinster. Those are 6 guys I think are in the mix to be considered. And Andy Farrell is going to these games. He's watching these guys play. You know, he's no fool. So he's very good at picking guys like that haven't been on the stage that long, but just have that kind of potential in them. Think of like Mac Hansen. He barely played for Connacht and he was picked very straight away for Ireland. So we'll see. It's going to be exciting to see who gets picked. And then we've got as well Connacht against Montauban, who are a US outfit. I don't know who's playing for Connacht. It hasn't been released as of yet, the team sheet, but that's going to be at 8 o'clock to tie off the day of rugby. Really hope they win. It's a must win for Connacht to stay alive in the Challenge Cup, so let's hope they win. So yeah, as I said, the Six Nations squad will be announced next week, hopefully Wednesday. I'd be surprised if it was any later. So that is going to be up to major scrutiny. I might do a prediction video on that too. It's just to see, you know, who are they definitely going to pick, who are a few bolters. And then very big news for the rugby world. It's been talked about constantly the last couple of days. Scott Robertson, aka Razor, the coach for the New Zealand, the mighty All Blacks, has been fired. He's been given the sack, and it just seems to have come out of like a bolt of lightning from nowhere. And it's really, God, there's like the videos, the amount of reactionary videos that have been done, pundits talking about this. It's really juicy news. It's one of the biggest stories of the year, especially for not just rugby in general, but New Zealand rugby. I don't know what to say. It's a mind melt, like, just because it's quite close, like in your World Cup cycle. It's like, 18 months really before we start really getting into World Cup mode. That's, not that much time for changing for such a powerhouse rugby nation like New Zealand. These guys have won the World Cup a good few times. First country to win it consecutively. They eat, sleep, drink, eat rugby. And now Scott Robertson has been fired. So clearly something has gone wrong. You look back at 2025, they did a review. See, this is all in the reaction of a review, an annual review of the All Blacks to see how they were getting on. They lost 3 games, same as Ireland. And Andy Farrell isn't going anywhere. But they lost 3 games and the players are not happy with them. And I think that's what pushed this over. They lost games against quite good teams. They got an absolute hammering from South Africa in New Zealand. And I think that was the fatal blow. 43 points to 10, biggest deficit ever for an All Black game in history. Like, that's got to hurt. It was a total drubbing. So yeah, I think that was definitely one of the stakes in the coffin. One of the nails in the coffin, I should say. That happened, and then New Zealand got beaten by England in November, which was a really good game, you have to admit. England are just flying it. They've gotten so good lately. So I wasn't really surprised when they beat New Zealand. I think it's, based on these performances, I think it's a bit unfair to dump everything at the coach's feet. But clearly, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. It hasn't been happy in the camp. The players have not been happy. So the rumor is that Artie Savea probably one of the best players in the world right now. He especially voiced his opinion, and I suppose kind of subtly hinted that he would be going elsewhere if Scott stayed there, if Razor stayed on as coach. So this is a real kind of a watershed moment. It's the first time a player has kind of threatened to do that I can think of in living memory, to leave, to give an ultimatum like that for the head coach to be ejected from, the team, basically. So it's a big moment. I don't think we're not going to really realize how big a moment until 6 months down the line. But it's a very, this does not normally happen in rugby. Normally people just suck it up and they deal with their coach. Now you might look back at Ian Foster when he was coaching New Zealand, and people were calling him worst coach of all time. The public hated him for a time. It was horrible. He got dogs abuse. People were saying, calling for his head, basically. But his players backed him. They said, no, we're sticking with this guy. He's got to just, keep the faith. And to be fair, they nearly won the World Cup. They were a penalty away from winning, a penalty which they actually should have gotten, that was forgotten in the final accidentally, that could have won them the World Cup. So, Fozzie wasn't as bad as they made him out to be. Now he had the hindsight to see, I need help here. So he got people like Jason Ryan helping with the scrum. He got Joe Schmidt to jump on the ticket for the World Cup, who really was able to deduce, I think was the turning points in beating Ireland in that quarterfinal, was having Joe Schmidt on that ticket, because he knew how Ireland played. He had a bit of IP there, and he's just a very smart individual in general anyway. I think that was crucial. So Ian Foster was able to know when he needed help, whereas I don't think it was the same with Razor, with this guy Scott Robertson. I think it was a bit more, introverted than that. So they have spoken, and Razor has gotten the boot. And you're thinking, a lot of people are like, oh, that's brilliant. A lot of other people in New Zealand, depending where you are kind of like, oh no, he should have stuck it out. Should have given him more chances. Now, to be fair, he didn't have any international experience at all. What were they expecting? He is a very good club coach. What he did with the Crusaders, magic man. Everybody loved him. He was known to breakdance, after victories, which is kind of cool. No other coach in the world has ever done that. So he's clearly a cool bloke and well loved by his players. But you're transitioning from club to international on one of the most, pressure cooker coaching jobs in the world. You're coaching the All Blacks. It's a huge mantle to pick up. So I don't know. I always felt like, is this a right choice? Is it a reactionary choice because of the hate on Ian Foster? I just think they could have gotten someone a bit more experienced on the international circuit. So anyway, he's gone, and still best of luck to him. He could pop up again somewhere else, just like Eddie Jones, just jump onto another gig, short notice. Who knows, So we'll see what happens with Razor. His story is not finished yet, for sure. So now the question is, who's going to take over? We're in January, so it's not like New Zealand are playing tomorrow. They've done this at probably the best time, considering they're a year and a half out from the World Cup. That's enough time to turn things around. They're already a great team, great players, but they just need someone coach to not lose the dressing room like Razor did. So a lot of people have been talking about Jamie Joseph as a contender, who is, don't know much about, to be honest, but he seems to be getting a lot of love online for the guy, the kind of incumbent, is that the right word, incumbent? Guy next in line, pretty much. Now, he has a good relationship with Tony Brown, who's currently working with South African Springboks, who I would be very surprised would want to let go, but they could work out a deal in which he would leave and help this guy, Jamie Joseph, create a new coaching team for the All Blacks, or improve the current coaching team for the All Blacks. I'm not sure who else has gone with Razor at the moment. None of that has been revealed as of yet. I'm sure things will unfold, but those two guys, this guy Jamie Joseph and Tony Brown, I think could be a real wrecking crew, according to the stats and their experience. So that's looking like the most possible outcome. I thought straight away when I heard this, Joe Schmidt. Joe Schmidt is the guy to be leading New Zealand right now. He's rugby personified. He changed Ireland irrevocably. Got some great victories from them, World Cup aside. But he was the first guy to bring us up to number one in the world. First guy to help us beat the All Blacks. We owe him so much. There would be no Andy Farrell without Joe Schmidt. So he's a bit of a legend, and he's a smart guy. He's done wonders with Australia. Okay, they're still in the doldrums a bit, but they could have been a lot worse off without him. And he did beat South Africa with Australia just back at the Rugby Championship just gone in South Africa. So, and it was very close, that Lions tour. That they won the third test, the second test was very close score. So that's not to be knocked. He really brought them up to speed. He made the Lions tour competitive for sure. So he's a huge pedigree. He's just a really good tactician, really good strategist, and just really good at picking the right players for the right games. So I think it's a no-brainer. But will he go is another question. It's about what he wants and his circumstances. You don't know what people want. Maybe Jamie Joseph is happy where he is. Maybe, it's an uproot for their families. It's not an easy decision to just, if you don't know, what people are going through or what people's options are at the time. So it's a total free-for-all. Who's going to get it? Could be someone completely different. People like Ronan O'Gara have been mentioned, which I think would be hilarious, Eddie Jones, God forbid Eddie Jones come along and do what he did to New Zealand, what he did to Australia. But I do think Raj would be fantastic for entertainment value alone. I mean, he played with Razor. I mean, he coached with Razor. He coached the Crusaders when he was really cutting his teeth in coaching. So yeah, we'll see. We will see. But that is the big news this week, is that he has left. It has been like a bomb has gone off. So I will be looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. But it has been hysterical is the word, I think, for the reactions online. And there's just so many angles. It's an interesting, kind of lightning rod of conversation for anyone who's into world rugby. Just the politics, the kind of, would you call it skullduggery? Maybe. What Artie Sevilla has done, the ultimatum he has given, if it's necessary, fair enough. Look, you do what you got to do. But I just think it's very interesting that this is kind of the first time that's happened, that I can think anyway. So, yeah, that is the big news. We will see who gets picked for the All Blacks coach in hopefully the foreseeable future. So, that is what's going on this weekend. Best of luck to the Irish provinces. I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment, please, as well. And I hope you enjoy your rugby this weekend. Thanks. Bye.